Hey friends, it is time for Thursday Bible study. Maybe we're calling this every other Thursday Bible study because that seems to be the pattern so far. And next week, Thursday is Maundy Thursday, so we'll be moving into a Holy Week schedule. So that'll keep us in the every other week pattern for this study. Hopefully by now you've gotten the e-version or a print version, Sessions with Peter, printed by Smith Helwis, written by your friend and mine, Sarah Shelton. In this week, we're in now the second chapter. I'll post all of the questions for discussion in the email that's coming out in just a little bit. But she's talking about grace and blessing, and she tells this beautiful story at the end of the chapter about her parents when she was a child going on a trip to South America, and they left all of their children behind at home. And as they were leaving, she says her brother, who was a preschooler at the time, reached up to his mother's face and held it in his hands and said, "Don't forget where I am." When we are in exile, Sarah writes, we have a holy God who never forgets where we are. In fact, Peter's assurances remind us that we are chosen, called to live with purpose, and that we, as well as our faith, are indeed good as gold. And then she sends us thinking into some study and into some questions. All of those that I'll post for you if you don't have a copy of the book just yet. But one of the great questions that she asks in this section is about belonging. Where have you felt a sense of belonging, or describe a person or event that has given you a sense of blessing? And if you've never felt it, what would have helped you? As I read through the chapter and the words in 1 Peter, it's chapter 1 today, I thought immediately about these midweek happy hours that we're doing. Initially, I wanted to do something that allow us to do a more informal check-in as a congregation, the way that we would for a midweek community meal. And it's been interesting now that we're really in this lockdown for a while. We really are sheltering in place, and we're talking about doing so for months, that there's something about Wednesday that I hit this place of, oh, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to have to slap on some lipstick and sit in front of a computer and pretend that everything's okay. Somehow that's a pressure I've put on myself. Like to pretend that everything's okay, or pretend that I'm really put together. Pretend that I'm unfazed by this, that I'm unflappable somehow. And last night was no exception. I was late crawling into that Zoom call, and friends were already there, and they were already talking and sharing and laughing. And I just found myself laughing so hard. I was laughing with Nyla as she talked about how is she going to curl her hair and do her nails, and Bob Marie rubbing the top of his bald head and saying he's got the same problem, and people just sharing tips and jokes and stories and finding a way to be community for each other. And it was such a blessing. Such a blessing for me to just be there and get to show up and see other people show up and find a space where I deeply belong and where other people know that they deeply belong. It's been a gift to me to see folks from all over the place who can't always be here for physical worship, who are consistently and steadily showing up in these online spaces we've created. So when I think about grace and blessing and belonging, that's where my mind goes immediately right now, in a time of isolation and some loneliness and boredom and frustration and grief and all of the things that I'm feeling, and I know you're feeling. This community that we've been given is a beautiful thing, and most definitely an act of grace and a space of grace. So I hope that you'll continue to find those and think today about a time or place that you have known that you belong, the blessing that comes in that. And if you haven't, then do the hard work of thinking what would make you feel that you have been welcome and that you have been brought home in some kind of beautiful way. Grace and peace, everybody. Hope you enjoy this conversation today with Sarah Shelton, and I'll see you again soon.